If you have these 5 plants in your home and they are blooming, get rid of them right away. And do not feel bad about all the time you have spent caring for them, because that may be a sign that the living energy in your home is about to run dry, dragging down the health of your loved ones and the family's finances along with it. In folk belief, green plants are seen as the source that nourishes the fresh flow of energy for the whole home. If your home has healthy, thriving plants, then your living space is always fresh, your loved ones stay healthy, and their minds stay clearer. And that is exactly why, whenever people see a potted plant in the home bud and bear fruit, many of you tend to view it as a sign that blessings are arriving for the family. But that depends on the particular plant. Some plants blooming is a sign that your family may be about to receive more luck and smoother finances. But there are also plants where the flowers, the moment they open, are seen as an ill omen that can bring more misfortune into your home. So to help you recognize which plants you should get rid of right away when they flower, today I am going to share with you 5 plants that Feng Shui places among the most avoided, along with the ways to set things right if you happen to be growing them in your home, to help your family get back to the ease and peace you had before. All right, now let us begin. Plant 1. Pennywort. Do you happen to be growing a pot of pennywort in your home? This is a plant with round leaves like coins, growing into a thick clump in a small pot, and many of you tend to place it on the windowsill, on the coffee table, or out on the balcony. Pennywort grows easily too, and all it needs is water to fill the whole pot. It is from those perfectly round leaves that the plant gets its name, because when they stack on top of one another in the pot, looking at them is no different from coins piled full in a jar. And that is why this plant is seen as an image of the money in the home, and the thicker and greener the leaves, the fuller and more abundant your wealth may be. But at some point, up among those round leaves, thin, slender stalks will rise, tipped with clusters of tiny ivory white flowers. These flowers grow bunched into a small cluster, hidden among the foliage, so you have to look very closely to spot them. So when you water the plant, part the leaves and check whether those buds are there, because that is a sign of decline coming to your family. Because at that point, all the nutrients in the plant get funneled up to feed those flower clusters, so the leaves start shrinking, thinning, turning yellow, and dropping off one by one. The clump that was lush and green suddenly goes sparse and ragged. In old belief, those round leaves dwindling also means the money in your home may be dwindling right along with them. That loss usually shows up in your income and expenses. Money still comes into your home, but it comes in a trickle, less this month than the month before. The amounts you were planning to set aside keep getting postponed, while your work stays stuck in place, unable to move up. So when you see the plant start to push up a flower stalk, cut it off right at the start when it first appears, and cut all the way down to the base of the stalk rather than just pinching off the bloom on top. After that, trim away the old yellowed leaves, replace the topsoil or change the water in the pot, then set the plant somewhere sunny and airy, so it sends out new leaves and the clump grows thick and green again. But if the plant has already bloomed in full by the time you notice, or the leaves have nearly all yellowed, then you should throw out the old pot entirely and replant a new one, rather than trying to nurse it back or hold on to it. Because a ragged pennywort with sparse leaves sitting in the home no longer holds that original meaning of fullness and abundance. When your home no longer has a pennywort that is flowering with yellowing leaves, and in its place is a lush green pennywort with thick leaves covering the whole pot, then that is an image of the wealth in your home being gathered and built up thicker each day. And the money you earn can be held onto for your family's big plans. Plant 2. Frangipani. Frangipani, also called the temple tree. Just take notice, when you pass by a pagoda gate, walk past a shrine, or go by a cemetery, almost every one of them has a few old Frangipani trees, with gnarled trunks and wide, spreading crowns. The old folks have grown Frangipani in those places since very long ago, because this is a plant seen as carrying a yin quality, meaning a plant suited to quiet, serene places, rather than a place with many people coming and going like our homes. And that is why our grandparents warned against planting Frangipani right in front of the house. And when the tree blooms in full, the whole crown blanketed in flowers, the fragrance swirling around the yard and slipping through the cracks of the door into the house, especially at night, that is when the yin energy in your home rises higher and higher, overpowering the warm living energy the home is supposed to have. And the clearest effect you may notice is that the scent of the flowers keeps you from falling asleep, so you wake in the morning with a mind that has lost its clarity. And once you are chronically sleep deprived, then during the day, whatever you do falls short of what you hoped. Your judgment in business is no longer as sharp as before, and so your important decisions often come out with mistakes in them, causing losses of money. Not only that, when your home reeks of the flower's scent for a whole month on end, then your guests and your benefactors who come to visit cannot sit for long, stopping by for a moment before finding an excuse to head home early. It becomes hard for you to invite friends or partners over to talk business. You set up meetings that keep falling through, and so your business connections gradually fade away. So if your home is growing a Frangipani right in front of the door or up against the window, the first thing to do is move the pot away. You can shift the pot out to a corner of the yard or behind the house, far from the entrance in the bedroom window. And for a tree already planted in the ground, with a trunk too large to move, then during the blooming season you should trim back the flowering branches, leaving only sparse clusters, rather than letting them blanket the whole tree. At night, also remember to close the windows on the side where the Frangipani is, so the scent does not blow straight into the bedroom. And as for the blooms that have wilted and fallen all around the base, sweep them up right away and do not let them lie rotting on the ground, because rotting flowers give off streams of foul energy that affect your whole family. When your home is airy again and there is no scent of flowers swirling around every night, then the whole family sleeps better too. When you get enough sleep, you wake up feeling well and clear-headed, and your judgment in business is sharper. And with an airy home, friends and guests come by more often, and good business connections many times come from exactly these kinds of conversations in your own home. Plant 3. Amaryllis. The amaryllis has flowers shaped like a bell in a striking, vivid red. And because it is so beautiful, many of you buy it to grow in a pot on the porch, or cut the stems and put them in a vase right in the middle of the living room table to brighten up the home. But this is a flower that Feng Shui avoids bringing into a living home, because for a long time now, the amaryllis has been a flower used at funerals, used to pay respects to the departed. Our grandparents also told their children not to offer amaryllis on the ancestral altar, because this is not a flower for the places of worship inside the home. So a flower so tied to grief and loss, when you bring it into the home, carries the cold energy of those places in along with it. On top of that, just notice that when the amaryllis blooms, the flower bows its head down toward the ground, rather than reaching straight up to catch the sun like most other flowers. And Feng Shui calls that a bowed head posture, representing resignation and decline. Moreover, in your home, everything should point upward and outward to take in energy. So a flower with a posture bowing down toward the ground, blooming right in the middle of the home, is seen as an ill omen for your own path in career and status. That effect shows up most clearly in the very work you are doing. Plans that are halfway along suddenly stall. A deal discussed down to the last detail falls through at the final moment. Not only that, the people in the home gradually lose their old drive, putting things off from one day to the next, and opportunities right in front of you drift on by. So with this flower, move the pot out to the balcony or the yard, somewhere airy and far from the family's shared living space. And for cut flowers in a vase, the moment they show signs of wilting, throw them out right away, and do not leave a whole vase of withered flowers sitting in the middle of the home day after day, because dead flowers in the home only make the energy more stagnant, unable to circulate. If you still want a pot of fresh flowers in the home, then choose flowers whose petals point upward, like chrysanthemums or gerbera daisies. In old belief, flowers that reach straight up to catch the sun usually carry the meaning of rising and moving forward in your business. When there is no longer a flower with that bowed head posture in the home, and in its place are pots of flowers reaching straight up, fresh and bright, then the spirit of your whole family lifts as well. Whatever you set your hand to, you feel driven, and plans left unfinished can move forward again. Opportunities that reach you can be seized right away rather than slipping past like before, and money comes to your family from there. Plant 4. Cactus. This is a plant with a fleshy, water-storing body covered all over in sharp thorns, and even if you forget to water it for a whole week, it still lives on healthily. And because it is so easy to grow, many of you buy small pots of cactus to place on the work desk, on the windowsill, and some homes even keep one right at the head of the bed. But according to the form school view of Feng Shui, meaning the school that looks at the shapes of objects and of the home to discuss the flow of energy, objects with many sharp thorns and sharp corners all give off harmful energy, meaning that sharp stream of energy can stab straight into you or your loved ones in the home. So a whole plant covered in thorns from base to tip like a cactus carries all the more of that harmful energy. That is why, since long ago, this plant was only grown along the fence line or the edge of the field to stand guard, rather than to be displayed in the home. But what is more worth noting is the matter of a cactus blooming. Just take notice. This plant very rarely flowers, and some pots go several years without blooming even once. So when it suddenly blooms, that is the moment it is giving off an omen for your family. That omen lies right in the flower itself. The cactus flower opens up very large and brilliant, but only for a day or two before it closes back up and withers entirely. And it is often compared by the old folks to things that arrive in brilliance yet leave just as fast, gone before you even have a chance to enjoy them. And when it comes to money, the moment you earn a sum, before you even have a chance to figure out how to save it, something comes up that sweeps nearly all of it away. You gain one amount and lose another, doing well this month and struggling the next. And business connections are the same, lively at first with all sorts of promises, but after a short while they go cold and lead nowhere. So when you see a pot of cactus in the home bloom, move the cactus out to the balcony, the rooftop, or plant it along the fence line. In those spots, this plant can serve its proper role, which is standing guard over your home from the outside. And for the ones that have bloomed and then withered, their bodies starting to shrivel and turn yellow, you should throw them out, because a withered plant in the home only makes your home's energy more gloomy and drained of life. If you still want to grow or place a green plant next to where you sit and work, then choose a plant with round, soft leaves and no thorns on the stem, one that is both harmonious and suited to a spot with many people passing by in the home. When you have set right those thorny cactus pots pointing into the living space, then your money will no longer follow that pattern of coming in and going right back out like before. Whatever amount you earn, you can hold on to more steadily from one month to the next, so you can plan and arrange things for the long term. Business connections are the same, going the distance once you set your hand to them, rather than being lively at first and going cold partway through. Plant 5. Bamboo. Bamboo, both the large kind and the slender kind, is a plant favored in many places, and you may come across clumps of ornamental bamboo grown in pots in the living room or the hallway, or bamboo thickets grown as fences and out in the yard. The special thing about this plant is that it almost never flowers in its whole life. A bamboo clump can live several decades, even 100 years, without ever blooming once. And that is why, when small clusters of pale yellow flowers suddenly push up at the tips of the bamboo, it is a rare thing. So rare that in a whole lifetime a person may witness it only once. The old folks, on seeing bamboo flower like that, usually believed something ill was about to happen. And when I looked further into it, I found that in many Eastern countries there is a saying passed down that if the bamboo flowers, you should move your home somewhere else. When you first hear it, it may sound like an exaggeration, but behind it lies a whole body of long-standing observation from our grandparents of old. Because after it blooms, the bamboo produces a great many seeds, and then the whole clump withers and gradually dies, beyond saving. On top of that, the spots where bamboo seeds scatter all over the ground at the base become a fine feast for rats. The rats come pouring in to eat the seeds, and eating their fill, they multiply very fast, soon growing into large swarms. By the time the bamboo seeds are all gone, that swarm of hungry rats floods into the fields and into people's grain stores to ravage them. Harvests are wiped out, the food stores and homes are gnawed through, and the whole region falls into famine. And that also symbolizes how your wealth may dwindle away over time, unable to be built up for the long run. So when you see the bamboo thicket or the ornamental bamboo clump in your home flower, dig out the whole clump and do not keep the roots. After clearing it out, remember to sweep up the dry leaves, the rotting branches, and the scattered seeds around the base. In that bare patch of ground, you should plant another green plant right away to replace it, rather than leaving the ground empty for a long time. And for a pot of ornamental bamboo in the home that has flowered, throw out the whole pot and replace it with a fresh, healthy new plant so that corner of the home has living energy again like before. Only then can you devote yourself fully to making a living. And thanks to that, wealth can be gathered lastingly for the whole family. And so I have gone through with you the 5 plants that, when they flower, can bring misfortune to the family. Through this, now that you can recognize those plants, take a little time to set things right. For a plant that has bloomed but can still be saved, cut off the buds, and for a plant that has withered and gone ragged, throw it out entirely and choose a fresh, healthy new plant to put in its place, so that the corners of your home have life and living energy again, and your whole family stays healthy, business goes smoothly, and the money you earn can be held onto more lastingly. In future videos, if there is a Feng Shui topic you would like me to share more about, just leave a note down in the comments. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. I wish you and your family lasting health, happiness, and a more prosperous life by the day. Goodbye, and I will see you again.